Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Welcome to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. This is Dr. Charles Laux. I am here. This is our episode 65 and the last of our couple series here for 2023. It's hard to believe it's over, but I have a wonderful guest here, Mr. Adrian Gordon, joining us. He is a composer, he is an author, and conductor and music educator. Adrian, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate your taking the time to come out.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to chat with you about all the awesome things you're doing out there. You're doing guest conducting kind of all over the country, and your book I can see in your background there. Note to self: we'll be talking about that. And you had given me a copy last year at Midwest, and it's been an awesome resource as I'm pretty new to my school, and just gave me some things to like rethink about. So, thank you so much again for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your background, and your like, I guess, your career history.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and that was I was born and raised there, and I just left there last year.
That was your first time out of Miami?
First time out of Miami.
Moving, like living. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
Big
I mean,
step.
I've traveled a little bit,
Sure.
but that was a big step outside of my comfort zone. And my wife was happy to do it, but it was kind of nerve-wracking for me. But we moved out here to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm working at a private school teaching strings. It's called Providence Day.
Okay.
And strings for grades 5 through 12, which has been fantastic.
Wow. So it's all you.
Oh yeah.
You are in charge of your destiny.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't mess up. But no, it's been a good transition. The family's loving it, and yeah, once I got here, I was able to put out my book, and I've been conducting, and like you said, and it's been a great move for me.
That's really awesome. So, how many years have you been at your school now, or in Charlotte?
And this is my second year teaching here at Providence Day School.
Wow. And what did you do before then? Where were you? You were in Miami. What was your your career? What did your career look like there? Or is it?
In Miami, I had several job positions, but the main was teaching strings. I was at 2 schools down there, one for 13 years, one for 4 years. And I really loved my time down there. And that's where I really, I don't know, came of age and thinking and understanding music education. Yeah. And it's stuck with me ever since.
That's awesome. Awesome. So you have a whole bunch of engagements coming up. Where are you conducting coming up in the next few months, or?
Well, in a few weeks, I'll be in Tennessee. I'm doing the Mid-State Honor Orchestra, which I'm really excited about because I'm premiering a new piece. I'm premiering my brand new piece through Alfred Music.
What is it called?
And that one's kind of special. It's called A Ray of Joy.
Ray of Joy.
So,
cool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So last year I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was kind of nerve-wracking for me, like I said. And I had written a piece called A Tender Moment in Time. And that's also published through Alfred Music.
Perfect.
And that was about the feeling and the emotions that I was going through as I moved. Now, fast forward to where we are now. My parents, they ended up moving out to Charlotte, North Carolina with my wife and I. And I was very, very grateful. What a blessing to have them close by.
Yeah, that makes a big difference when you have kids.
Yes,
and you need that help for, or you need a date night or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Date nights, sometimes babysitting, but just having them close by. They're just great, and I learn a lot from them. So I ended up writing a follow-up to that piece, A Tender Moment in Time, called A Ray of Joy. And subsequently, my parents' names are Ray and Joy.
Oh, that's so cool.
So this is a piece dedicated to them and all the wonderful things they've done for me. So we're premiering it in Tennessee in a few weeks. So I'm really excited about that and hoping to get them there.
Is that a middle
I
school
showed my
group or a high
mom.
school group that you're working with?
It's a middle school group,
Uh-huh.
but from what I hear, they're fantastic, so I can't wait to work
Yeah.
with them. But it's gonna be really cool to hear it live. I presented it to my mom for her birthday,
Oh,
and I'm just so looking forward to hearing it live and seeing what that nice, rich string sound is gonna be like.
that's gonna be
So I'm really
awesome. That's gonna be really
yeah.
awesome.
So we
And
got that coming up, and
uh-huh.
then I'll be in. Where else am I gonna be? Oh, I'll be in Washington State. I'm speaking
Oh,
there
up
as
there.
their
Wow. Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm speaking as the orchestra headliner for the Washington MEA conference in
Great.
February, and then I'll be in Georgia conducting, I think in your county, right?
Yes, you're doing the middle school, all county. Hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully my son will be in that group. I know
Yes,
he's gonna be
yes.
trying out. And you met him at Midwest. He's a
Yeah,
7th
he's a
grade viola
great kid.
player, and, I know he's been working on it a little bit, and, we're gonna be pumping it up some more here after, break's over here and get him going
Awesome.
on that. But that would be really
Yeah,
cool for him to play under you.
that would be awesome. And
Yeah,
I get to meet him. Really nice kid, and I'm looking forward to that. And then I'll be conducting here in North Carolina as well for the Western Region Honor Orchestra.
great.
So,
And it sounds like your school is really flexible with you and letting you, like, go off and do these things. That's a pretty cool, opportunity, and, um,
yeah,
maybe
they've
one advantage of a private school, I don't know, is that something that you would say that your school is maybe exceptional compared to what a public school might offer in terms of being able to go out and do some of these, extra things?
I think it depends on the administration because my
Mhm.
last school, even though it was a private school as well, my direct boss was not so keen on me doing these kinds of
Sure.
things. So
Mhm.
I guess it depends on who you're working with and the vision that they have and the support that they have
Yeah,
for you as an educator and for the students, because me doing these things is also making me a better professional
that's right.
to bring that knowledge back to my students. It's all intertwined, it's not separate.
For
So
sure, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're very supportive.
Yeah, every time I go off and do something else, I always bring back more for my students, and
Yes.
and I have a limited opportunities because I take personal days on days when I go off and do things, and so you have a limited number of things you can say yes to, and kind of have to pick and choose. But it definitely does impact, and my administration is really supportive of it, and they know that it's building up the school name and the district name, and they know that I'm bringing back some valuable, whether it's an insight or a repertoire or teaching strategies or experiences for my students. So that's awesome that you have that same
Yeah,
opportunity to do that.
yeah. That's been one of the great parts about transitioning here to this new school, this new job, that they've been so supportive of that. So I'm really appreciative.
Yeah. And then at your school, like your 5 through 12, how often do you see your elementary kids, your middle school kids, your high school kids? Is it daily, or tell us a little bit about your schedule? Because I know there are lots of teachers out there that are in charge of their own destiny, and having to do the whole program, and maybe they could learn a little bit about how it works for you.
Yeah, for me, if I'm being honest, it's super hard because it's called a tumbling block schedule. I think that's what it's
Ah,
called.
a confusing block schedule, right?
Yeah, there you go. So, and honestly, I have to look at the schedule every single day. And the day before, okay, what am I doing today? What am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing the next day?
Yeah.
We have letter days A through F, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
just for me. A lot of people are like really quick at it. My wife, she also works at the same school. She could tell
Oh,
me,
nice.
letter, we have this day, and March 31st, that day, it'll be this letter day. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just not one of those people.
Yeah, it's,
So I see them probably 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the week. It flip-flops,
okay.
but I make the most of that time. We make sure we get a lot done because, time is limited, and I wanna make sure that I'm bringing my A game, bringing my best to them.
Mhm.
Uh, and in return, I want them to feel like they're walking out getting the most from that class time, and feeling like, "Hey, you know what? maybe I didn't like Mr. Gordon's jokes because I tell a lot of jokes in class.
For
But
sure.
I did improve. I did learn some new rep, and I feel more accomplished as a musician.
That's awesome.
That's my
Yeah.
yeah.
What are some of the things you look at when you're selecting materials or repertoire for your students? What are some of the things that you what are some of your philosophical, um, elements of
Yeah,
that?
I guess being a composer, that kind of adds a little extra layer to it for me because when I'm writing, I'm also thinking about the entire ensemble. I don't, if I'm I'm not trying to pick on violas, but if I'm a viola, I don't want to sit there and not have any interesting parts or anything that
Yeah.
moves or I want to be a part of the team. I want to make sure that I'm contributing and having something fun and so when I write, I make sure that I try and write something interesting for all parties
Mhm.
involved, and something that would be interesting for conductors to conduct, which I think is important too.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think about melody. I A big part of figuring out whether or not my students are going to enjoy a piece is when they leave, are they humming that tune? When it's time to pack up, what are they humming?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll say, I hate this piece, but they're humming it on the way out. And then, begrudgingly,
You
oh,
just know.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like it after a while. So,
I refer to that as the grow on piece. Like, okay, you may not like this the first time, we sight read it or whatever. And I always
yeah,
tell my students to, don't base your opinion of this piece on your inability to sight read it the first time,
right.
because they do that a lot. But it's like the more you play this piece, I almost guarantee it's going to grow on you, and you're going to learn to appreciate it. Um,
Yeah.
whether you won't realize it until we get into it a little bit, and I love those pieces because it's always that surprise then, and they're all kind of like, "You were right." It's like I love this piece now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
I think about that as an educator. I think about that as a conductor. And I think about that as a composer, making sure that it's interesting for all parties. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. So you're composing. You have like those couple pieces recently with Alfred. How long have you been composing? What inspires you? And tell us a little bit more about your creative process.
Yeah, I started composing probably back in 2007.
Okay.
Actually, earlier than that. I started composing seriously back in 2007. But one of my first compositions actually was in college. I had a really great violin teacher, but I was so frustrated because I wasn't able to explore the violin and do alternative styles and things like that. So I ended up writing a piece called Farewell to the Violin, and it was for my jury. So I played it for
Do
my
you smash
jury.
it? Do you smash it at the end? No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. But I played that for my jury, and I ended up
Oh.
quitting violin for I think 2 or 3 years. And then once I graduated, I switched over to classical guitar.
Oh wow. Okay. I had no idea you
Yeah,
play guitar.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's videos up of me playing guitar, I think on YouTube. But
Nice.
from there, I came back to the violin after I graduated college, and then I started composing because I was in front of orchestras, and I started putting my music in front of students, kind of blind. They didn't know it was my music. I didn't put my name on it or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they were enjoying it. And then I was sending it out to publishing houses, and all of them were saying no. So I was
Ah.
like, what
Yeah.
gives? The kids are liking this, but the publishing houses, they're saying no. Who is the target audience?
Do
It's the students.
yeah. Do they when they say no, I haven't put any pieces into publish, which I probably should, but um when they say no, do they come back with reasons? Do they say it's too long, it's too short, it's too hard, too easy, or there just doesn't fit
Very
us at this
rare.
time?
Rare. If you know somebody who's
Mhm.
in one of those publishing houses, then you might have them say, "Hey, well, if you can fix this, this, and this," or I'll review it with you, which, I've had that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're just gonna get a big fat no, and they'll say, "It doesn't quite fit into our catalog at this time," or "We have too many pieces like this," or "We
Okay.
don't have enough of this grade level."
Yeah.
You don't know what it is about your piece, and then on top of that, sometimes you gotta wait a couple months, in order to put it in and get feedback, and you're like, I'm burning time,
Yeah.
sitting up pieces. So for me at that point, I was like, you know what? I believe in what I'm doing, and not in a conceited way. I think my music is special, like a leap year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to develop my own publishing company called Leap Year Music. And I always say from that point on, my mantra became permission granted. And whatever I want to do, whatever I see in my own life that I need to do creatively, leap year was going to be the avenue to do it.
Nice.
And it's been like that for me for the past, 14
And so
years.
you
So,
have several. How many pieces do you have published in Leap Year right now?
probably 28
Okay.
or
And is
something.
that what is the website so we can tell our audience what your website is?
Yeah, so the website is leapyearmusic.com or
Cool.
leapyearmusiconline.com, either one,
Okay.
linked to the same page. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of my stuff there, or my website, Adrian Gordon
And okay, and
music.
we can link to it from. It'll be linked to it from your AdrianGordon.com.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
all there. Everything's kind of mixed and linked together. So,
Nice.
yeah, so I started doing that, and being in front of students was helpful because I had my own lab, and I was able to
Mm.
put out age appropriate pieces and think pedagogically. Okay, this is not going to work, and kind of learn from some of those mistakes and figure out what conductors need, because when you're a conductor up there, you don't have time to teach above level. You need to teach at level,
Hmm.
for the most part, and make incremental um, additions to their bag of tricks.
Right. Well, if you want to make music, right? Otherwise, you're just like reaching for notes and rests and rhythms, and
Yeah,
that's not fun.
it's not fun. So that was kind of hard to pick up at first, but after a while, being in front of the students and realizing what they're capable of at each given level,
Hmm.
especially now that I'm teaching 5 through 12, I see the full spectrum.
Yeah.
That's been really helpful as a composer as well.
That's awesome. And then tell us about your book. Your book is called Note to Self, and tell
Yeah,
us what it's about, and I guess what inspired you to write that. Obviously, I kind of know, but maybe our
yeah.
audience doesn't know.
Yeah, well, I had, like I said, in Miami, I'd been in several different positions. I was a general music teacher for grades K through 4. I did that for 7 years.
Okay.
And then I was an assistant orchestra director. Then I was an assistant band director. Then I was an orchestra director. Then I was a
Okay.
choir
So you're like,
director.
wow.
I kept having to be in all these different situations, which was really good. It was positive to pick up a lot of the pedagogy in those areas. But I noticed a common thread that all of those areas need to be connected no matter where you're going. The students are the same, but you got to figure out a way to interact with them, still deal with parents, still deal with administration, faculty. And these are all the things that I didn't learn in school, in
Yeah.
college. In school, you learn about playing in tune.
Yeah.
you you learn about repertoire. You learn about conducting, but there's those hard to navigate areas of how do I interact with parents? How do I build trust with the students? How do I project my vision?
Hmm.
All those things that are really important to building a program, and had seen nothing like it. So and through conversations with my best friend and journaling, I guess once we got into the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to waste this time. Let's go for it. And I ended up every day just writing, basically through my experiences, everything that I've learned, all the journaling conversations that I've had.
Yeah.
And this resource I thought, was could be helpful to pre-service teachers, also to people who are experienced in the field but are just moving for the first time,
Yeah.
or moving for the second time and just need a refresher, like you said,
Yeah.
stuff, but just to be refreshed on it.
Well, yeah, and I've been at quite a few schools and university and elementary, middle school, high school, rich schools, poor schools, kind of everything in between. And every school, every situation has different challenges and a
Right.
different set of things that are going to be easy, things are going to be difficult. Whether you're taking over for the beloved, teacher
Exactly.
god,
Yeah.
or someone who the students maybe didn't like as much. There's always going to be those situations with students, parent, admin,
Mhm.
expectations. You go into schools with really high expectations, or you go into schools like there's no expectation here at all. Anything I do is gold, and so you'll have lots of those, and I think your book is very comprehensive because it does discuss the parent front,
Hmm.
the rapport with students, and there's relationships, and then materials and facilities. It talks about everything. So I think
Yeah.
everybody should definitely check that out, especially if you're considering transitioning to a new school or new opportunity, or whether you've done it before but maybe just need that reminder.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really enjoyed putting in the book was the end of the chapter reflection. There's some spaces there to think through, kind of flesh out your own ideas about your transition. And then you're writing it down, and the idea is eventually you kind of pay that forward. You pass that book along to somebody who's coming up in the field, and maybe that'll help them.
Hmm.
And also the idea that each chapter is named after a song title. So you've got these really cool song titles, which I think are pretty cool, and you have a playlist out there at the end of your read, and that playlist will kind of musically help you stay on track throughout
That's
your
great.
school year.
That's great. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know for me, music heals so much, and like you have these things that just always relating to a life event or an experience or a person or whatever it might be. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Really cool. Yeah, and then so what do you see as some of the big challenges in music education or in string ed? Um, uh, do you see any challenges or anything like that coming up?
Yeah, I think, the pandemic hurt and helped. I think it propelled the use of digital
Hmm.
and also online and helped people become fully aware of what they're capable of doing with online resources, which is great.
Yeah.
But I also think it desensitized us to how important it was to connect physically with something, a discipline, and not have that instant gratification.
Hmm.
Um, so trying to tell a student right now that, hey, I want you to take up this craft. It's not going to be pretty at first. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be really difficult. You
Hmm.
can't just swipe, and it's going to take you years to master it, but it's going to be one of the most rewarding things in your life. And it's going to be a gift that you can always hold on to when you can't play sports. When you're down, you
Hmm.
always have this gift to kind of help you.
Yeah.
You tell a kid that, it's a hard sell
Yeah.
because they can just pick up their device and just swipe, and so that instant gratification I think has become a problem for us as professionals, and
Yeah.
trying to convince students that this is a worthwhile, really, really beneficial discipline for you. I think that's going to be really hard
They have
to.
they have a hard time seeing the big picture
Right.
and what perseverance and grit and hard work hard work pays off. Like, well, I could just look it up. No, it's like this is something that's going to take you some time, but and I keep telling my students, I said, like, when you're an adult, your adult friend and you play an instrument and they don't, your adult friends will be envious of you because you're doing
Yes, they
something they
will.
can't do. And they may have tried before, they may have done, a little bit of that before, but you can still do it. And they don't understand that. It's hard for them to visualize me
It's
being
hard.
old, you know, me being
Yeah.
old. Mhm.
And the funny thing is, being at a private school, we always have parent admissions tours coming through our school. And,
Yeah.
and a lot of times I'll stop and talk to parents. And one of the most common things I hear from the parents who stop me, they say, I wish I would have continued. I played and I quit, and I wish I would have continued, not to become a professional musician, but just the gratification that I can play.
Yeah.
I see the instruments in your studio there, just to play and have fun.
Yeah.
My brother's he's a doctor, but he's a phenomenal jazz musician. So
Oh, wow.
whenever he's home, we sit and we'll jam for hours, and we'll just play, and we love doing that. That's something special that we can always come back to.
You'll always have that. That's right.
We'll always have
And
that,
that's what I tell my
so
students too is like, you'll always be able to do this. When you're 82, you'll be able to do
yes.
this. I know you love soccer, but that's going to last
Yeah,
you till a certain amount and then your soccer days will be over. So
Once you hit 25, 30, your body is
it starts happening. Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do it the same way you used to. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we can explain that to the young generation that this is a worthwhile discipline that's really going to help them, and all the science points to it. But just making that case,
Hmm.
it's a really hard sell right now.
Yeah, it is. It is. But hopefully, as we continue to evolve past all of this, we'll start getting those students to understand like the value again. And
Yeah,
I know I'm seeing a lot of energy in my freshmen and sophomores that maybe I'm not seeing as much as within my juniors and seniors. And the juniors
mhm.
and seniors, had COVID impacted them really greatly during the time that they
Right.
were starting to play their instruments. Whereas my freshmen and sophomores, they're a little bit past that now, so they've had more years of normal experiences, I guess, and it's also reflected, I think, in my numbers a little bit, with my seniors class being the smallest, and then juniors only a few larger, and then I have really big freshman sophomore classes at my school. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that that will continue. The growth will continue because of you know just that factor of COVID dropout and lack of
Yeah.
motivation.
Yeah. Something I'm experimenting with right now, and I've done this for years. I did it years ago, and once I moved, you talked about expectations. The school that I was previously at, they did not like high expectations whatsoever. But the
Hmm.
school I was at before that, they loved that. And one of the things I used to do that really motivated kids, and I'm kind of coming back to that, was instrument trading, trading places.
Yeah.
So I used to have my students who are really phenomenal players in their own right on their principal instrument teach each other how to play on their secondaries. I used to make them go to solo ensemble and do a solo on their
On a
secondary instrument.
secondary. Wow.
Yes, on their secondary instrument, and then it would be a surprise for the parents at the spring concert. We would put on, I'd stand up there and I'd say, go ahead and swap, and they'd swap instruments and they'd play a piece on stage at that concert, and the kids would go nuts. The energy was so amazing, and I'm trying to get back to that now. And from what I've seen, the kids are nuts. They're coming in all hours of the day, and I'm like, please don't skip class because they just want to play. They just want to, experiment on the other instruments.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to positively direct that energy,
Yeah.
and it seems to be working right now.
That's
So if
great.
I can kind of ride that wave, I'm all for it. So we'll see about putting something together for our spring concert
That'd be
that
amazing.
their
There
ability to do
there are a
that.
lot of kids who show up for school because of orchestra or because
Yeah,
of a certain class or or an athletic, activity or whatever it might be.
yeah,
And so it's we forget sometimes how important what we do is, and especially with a certain group of our kids who otherwise wouldn't have very much motivation to come to school.
yeah.
You know?
And I tell the students that's part of my spiel at the beginning of the school year, that this is supposed to be your fortress of solitude. No matter what's going on campus, you can come here to the orchestra room. You can just kind of
Yep.
take a load off. You can relax. You can play. You can talk. This is your fortress of solitude. And just as long as we respect the
Right.
room, I'm not going to trash it, but this is your spot.
That's
And
right.
so I do have a lot of students who will come and they'll just hang out after school or during break or whatever. They'll just be there. And it's cool to see that this is what they are gravitating to.
Yeah.
And to see those friend groups, I walk around campus and I see the friend groups still happening because of that connection from orchestra. I see those
Yeah.
standpointers hanging out. That's really special to me.
Yeah. As I recruit or talk about recruiting and just and do all that, the number one thing that I instill is that we are a family. We have a great
Yes.
community, and we try to build that community through, through food, like whether we have Chick-fil-A breakfast or
Yeah.
ice cream social, or we did a holiday gift exchange, which was really successful. And the kids build those relationships that way, and for me, that's really important. Besides what we do with the music,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah. It's an important part of the program.
Yeah, we do pizza face-offs, which is a lot of fun. We get pizzas from all different chains,
Oh wow!
and yeah, we argue about which one is the best, and we take tallies up on the board, and we can also do. I used to do the soda one, so like Sprite
Uh,
versus 7 Up, Coke versus Pepsi, you
yeah,
know, Pibb Extra versus Dr. Pepper,
that's
or whatever
fun.
it is. Yeah.
Those are some fun
So the
things.
kids love, and then they'll come in their pajamas and we'll watch a movie as we do all this. So it's a lot of fun for the kids, and it helps build that camaraderie and that, like you said, that family like atmosphere.
Yeah. What are some of the things you do for recruiting?
Well, that's a huge recruiting tool in and of itself. My movie nights, movie
Okay.
nights, and I kind of strategically schedule that before sign up for
And then you start 5th grade, you said, at your school.
I start in 5th grade. So I will do a promotional video that'll
Okay.
feature some of the older students to talk about their experience, and I'll play that, and then I try and play some really cool tunes on the instruments so that they see that these are not just boring,
Right.
archaic instruments. They are really really fun and really relevant.
Mhm.
Um, and what else do we do? Oh, for our concerts, that's a big part of it. I try my best to have the concerts online so that the students see the progression. So
Got it.
I invite the elementary to the middle school. They're not in the they're technically not in the same day, but I still invite
Okay.
them.
Mhm.
But for my middle and my high, those are three different ensembles. I make sure to schedule them on the same day, same time, so that them and the parents are seeing the trajectory of the program,
Great.
and they can see exactly what they're in for the next couple of years and be inspired, and develop those relationships with those the older students. That's been really helpful for the students to see that.
Very cool. Very cool. Uh, I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or promote? I mean, I know we have your pieces, and I can definitely I'll be definitely put your links into the description of the video here and the audio podcast. It'll go on Spotify and Apple and all that. Um, but anything else you want to chat about? This has been so great just to get to know you, and like I said, I think we just met last year at Midwest. Really, it
Yeah,
was really quick, and then I got to see just a little bit again this year at Midwest, but that's when we
yeah.
run into each other.
Well, I'll just say, in closing, that I love these professional development conferences. They
Yeah.
are awesome. I was fortunate enough to present middle school orchestra rehearsal lab,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I got to present that. It was on the last day, which was kind of unfortunate because a lot of the energy is taking place
Yeah.
at the beginning of the conference. But I got to work with Mr. Sean Patrick and Goshen Junior High, and that was fantastic. Got to work with them, just kind of give them some ideas. They were very very kind and programmed two of my pieces, so
Oh, very nice.
it was really cool to interact with them and give
Yeah.
them feedback directly from the composer. But I just love these conferences where I get to meet people like you and other professionals,
Yeah.
and just exchange ideas and have that good energy. And it's really an honor to be at these things. So
It can be challenging to, like, take off school because, taking off school requires way more work than actually just being there.
yes, it does.
But and the financial part of saving money to get the flight and pay for registration and do all that, but when it comes down to it, the PD that and the experiences and the networking and just the camaraderie and that sense of feeling like you're not all by yourself uh, in what we do because most of us are the lone string teacher at our
Right.
school, right? So having these opportunities to do the PD, whether it's Midwest Astra, your state conference, or another type of workshop, is really really helpful. So I can't recommend it enough. And those maybe that are maybe apprehensive about attending, it's we have to try to convince them that it's the thing to do because it
Yeah,
really does make a difference.
yeah, there's strength in numbers, and you just learn a lot. There's just a lot to learn, a lot to witness, even if you're not actively participating, just witnessing and seeing what other professionals are doing. I'm just, off the top of my mind, I'm thinking about Asta, and they always have these jam sessions, which are so great
Yeah.
to just kind of tinker with improvisation and kind of bring those ideas back to the classroom. There's just so many valuable things. Listening to the ensembles perform, the new rep that's in the reading sessions. There's just so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do encourage everybody to do that because there's a lot to gain from it, and there's that strength in numbers, that camaraderie that
Yeah.
happens. And I think the profession becomes a lot smaller. And that's what I've learned over the past several years going to these things. You think your district is huge, but it starts to kind of gain perspective when you're
Yeah.
at these things.
Well, and I
And
just learned, I mean, every time I go somewhere, regardless if I'm presenting or not, I just learn things and I get inspired. And, I see people that I want to be when I grow up. Like, I went to several sessions at Midwest. Jim Palmer's was one, just as an
oh
example.
yeah,
And it's
Jim's
like, I want to be Jim when I grow up. And
yes,
I'll tell that to his face, but he's
I
a good
told him,
friend.
I told
I
him.
was like, oh my gosh, like it's such a treasure trove of information and the way that he interacts with his students and his parents and just his
Right.
attitude all the time is so positive. Like that's that's inspiring for me. So
Yeah, he's one of the nicest guys and really talented.
yeah,
And maybe a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people know that, but he's a
yeah,
really good
yeah,
guy. Really
yeah,
good guy.
absolutely. And I got an open invitation for him to be on here too. He's just very busy, and he's got a lot going on. So hopefully one day we'll get him on the podcast here too,
I'll
or
give
maybe
him a,
maybe here in my studio because he doesn't live too far from me.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So
One
we got
day.
a great bunch of people down here in Georgia. Got him and David Eccles. David Eccles is like 3 miles from me. So yeah, a whole bunch of great
Saw
folks.
David Eccles at Midwest, and I
Yes.
got to hear one of the groups, North Gwinnett?
Oh, What's Connect Middle? That's David Metrio, one of my former students from the university, and
Yes.
also a good friend. But that group just like
Oh, they rocked.
killed
They
it.
rocked at Midwest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So proud of them. Outstanding work that they're doing
And
over
it's
there.
funny because it was 2019, and David and I were on the same flight. David Metrio and I were on the same flight. And so I'm like, hey, when we get to Chicago, we were there early. It's like, let's do a podcast. And I had him on the podcast in 2019.
Right.
And then fast forward, 4 years later, and his group's playing. So he's
Yeah.
at a new school and just absolutely killed it. So I was super proud to
Yeah.
see him
I
do
was
that.
there,
And
and
yeah,
the rep that they picked was awesome,
yeah,
and all the conductors just were doing outstanding work.
yeah,
So
yeah. So it was a very inspiring conference. Definitely something that I'll take with me as we moved into 2024 here and starting another
yes.
semester. And yeah, it's an exciting time. So and
Yeah.
and I, and I feel rested now too. So
I'm feeling rested. I got a lot to do, but I
yeah,
feel a little better. The holidays, they're great, but they kind of wear you down. You
they
kind of need.
do. You like I went off my exercise regimen a little bit, and my wife makes these desserts, and I'm eating this chocolate, and I was like, oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
So I got to
I know.
get back on track here when we
I know.
go back to school. So, but so much to look forward to. But Adrian, hey, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being on the
absolutely.
podcast. It's been my pleasure of just having you here, and we finally made it work. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, I definitely am honored to be on, and it's always great to see you and talk to you. And yeah, hope everyone enjoys it and goes and gets the book. Note to self.
Note to self, adriangordon.com, and we'll get us checked out of here. But again, thank you so much for being here on the Orchestra Teacher Podcast, broadcasting live on YouTube. Adrian, you've been a fantastic guest, and we will see you all next time. Thank you for tuning in. For resources and more information, visit orchestrateacher.net.